Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I think this article that I will feature in this video, plus the articles I covered yesterday and the day before, especially, I think proves that the Russians are about to break the front in Ukraine. The Ukrainians are getting ready by building fortifications in the main areas, which yesterday Zelensky named, which is the entire front. That tells me that they expect the Russians just to pour in. And with this article that I have here, I think it also emphasizes the same point. Russia is going to break through. Not in a hurry, but somehow they still have fresh, well-trained troops. If you also remember, the Ukrainians, the British intelligence and other intelligence services, weasels, when I say weasels, not to be trusted, because of past experience, not because I don't like them or anything like that. They said the Russians are rowdy, poorly trained, poorly equipped and all that, but somehow they're not losing. So let's get into this article coming from the Ukrainians themselves. So it's not the Russians, or no, it's the Ukrainians, or at least it is promoted, published in the New Voice of Ukraine. So let's see. The New Voice of Ukraine reports today, December 1st, 2023, that Russia deploys fresh, well-trained reserves to Bakhmut. Now, where is Bakhmut? Bakhmut is right in Donetsk Oblast, which is right here. This is the area. Now, the Russians call it Artemovsk. The Ukrainians call it Bakhmut. If you remember, Wagner Group, when Prigozhin was still alive, won that for the Russians. So Artemovsk is right here, conquered the city, and the Russians bring more troops here, well-trained reserves. They have reserves. And they're probably going to attack towards Krematorsk. That's the point right here. But this is not the, you see this area? This is already done. This is one right here. This is another one right here. This is another one right here, like pinching moves, go around and encircle it. And these are the most, right here by Krasny Liman, another one. And then is obviously in Kupiansk right here, that this is another big worry for the Ukrainians. So let's go back to the article. Russian forces have been significantly reinforced, significantly. Now, if this comes from the Ukrainians, that means multiplied by 3. This is how I got to understand these things. So when the Russians have some success, multiplied by 3 if it's reported by the Ukrainians. Now, if the Ukrainians report some success by their troops, divided by 3. And with the Russians, you do it with a 2. So when the Russian says, yes, we advanced 2 kilometers, probably they advanced 1 kilometer. Now with the Ukrainians, if they say we advanced 3 kilometers, that means they probably advanced 1 kilometer. The same, the Russians lost, let's say the Ukrainians say, the Russians lost, no, they advanced 1 kilometer. That means 3 kilometers. When the Russians say, where the Ukrainians advanced 1 kilometer, that means 2 kilometers. So 2 to 3, that's how I understand this to be. Russian forces have been significantly reinforced as fresh, well-trained reserves which have been sent to the Bakhmut sector. Senior Lieutenant Oleksiy Tarasenko, a deputy commander in Ukraine's 5th Separate Assault Brigade, told Radio Svoboda on November 30th. Russia has managed to concentrate significant forces in narrow sections near Bakhmut and accumulate a large amount of ammunition for heavy artillery and FPV, first-person view, drones, resulting in small tactical successes, Tarasenko explained. At the moment, the enemy is attempting to identify the most, this is another garbage, revealing, I would say, garbage because they say it and it's stupid. Why? Because people like me, let alone the Russians, will interpret it the way I will interpret it. And maybe even better. Why not? At the moment, the enemy is attempting to identify the most vulnerable spots in our defense. And then for 2 or 3 weeks now, regarding the trying to identify the most vulnerable fronts, for 2 or 3 weeks now, they have been intensively attacking our units in many sectors. End quote. So what does that mean? That's many vulnerable spots in their defense. Thank you very much for the information, imbecile. Why? That's the way I take it. Maybe you interpret it differently, but it says at the moment the enemy is attempting to identify right now. But then he said for weeks or for 2 or 3 weeks now they have been intensely attacking our units in many sectors. So maybe it's not like that. Maybe the interpretation is not, hey, wait a second, is now they try to identify, and then he said, well, for many, they try to intensively attacking our units in many sectors. Maybe not, but nevertheless, even if we interpret it that way, we look at they try to identify the most vulnerable spots in our defense, and Bakhmut is one of them. You can look at this and give this guy a little bit, cut him some slack and say, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be so harsh on you with my interpretation. But hey, could be both, could be more than that. Always, it could be more than one interpretation. The problem is you take it the most probable based on the evidence you have. And lately, Ukraine has been being 3 or 4 weeks, even more, I think a month at least. That's 4 weeks, right? The Ukrainians were really losing in certain locations of the front. Let me show you the most important ones. And those are right here. Kupiansk, definitely in Kupiansk they were doing poorly. Then in Liman right here. This is poorly right here, plus this right here. Then in Bakhmut, I don't know what's wrong with Bakhmut, but since they won probably the Krematorsk, they want to try to do the same thing as they do right here. And then this is, again, they're losing this one. Avdiivka, definitely they're losing Avdiivka. Another one. Then Marinka, I don't know about Marinka. Then nothing here, nothing here, nothing here. They're still trying to push the Ukrainians back with the counteroffensive. And supposedly here, the Ukrainians are doing well, which is allegedly, reportedly, they were capable of landing on the left bank of the Dnieper River. I'm still waiting for confirmation about that. They say, well, we're advancing. Okay, I don't know. It is possible. I'm 50-50. We'll find out. And for how long will they stay over there? We'll see. Winter's coming. So the Russians still have, according to the Ukrainians, fresh, well-trained reserves. It's okay. When are the Ukrainians going to bring their fresh, well-trained troops from the Western countries, from NATO? They said they have about what, 30,000 people over there? Now, 30,000 people, if they come back as very well-trained, they should push the Russians to Vladivostok. Well, that remains to be seen. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.